is working.
Right in front of you is the associated equipment van, which is built in configuration with the main van, which means that we can also take whatever is going on in here in there. And as currently, as we are speaking, why we can take the van anywhere, send the signals from the van to the satellite, and the satellite will download it to our station in Akure. It doesn't matter where, whether it's here in Akure, anywhere within Nigeria. In fact, if Mr. Governor so desires, we can take it with him on any of his foreign trips for that purpose, maybe later on. But basically, in a nutshell, that's how it works. And let me also use the opportunity to thank you, sir, Your Excellency, for this. The people of Ondo State will, in time to come, appreciate the full value of this piece of equipment. The foresight that has gone into getting it now. If we try to get it now, the cost will be at least 6 or 7 times what it would have cost us if we try to get it now. But on behalf of the entire crew working in OSRC, we want to thank you, Your Excellency, for today. Thank you and God bless. Thank you, sir. Your Excellency, there's just one more thing you will have to do, sir, because that one is in your name, sir. Your Excellency. Your Excellency, it's just for you to unveil the plaque, sir. Yes, sir. It's just there.
Ben, who's around? Where's Ben?
The
plaque unveiled by the Governor, Dr. MIMIKO, commissioning to commemorate the official commissioning of this digital satellite newscasting outside broadcasting van for the use of Ondo State Television Corporation this day, Wednesday, 24th of February 2016, to the glory of God Almighty and the use of our people.
Thank you, sir. Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think we can now.
Any down. NGOB van of OSRC by His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO. And actually that wraps it up, the first activity for today as we go to the main activity, talking about the 40th anniversary of the creation of the Soya State and the 7th anniversary of the 7th anniversary of this present administration led by Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO. All right, thank you so much. And it's ongoing. We will now move straight to the venue. But before that, we want to take some interviews before we go ahead with other activities lined up for today. All right? Well, as I told you earlier, and I will always say that we have so many activities for today. Today is the 24th day in the month of February 2016. And to God be the glory, the first assignment for today has just been completed. And before we go to the main auditorium, we want to take an interview with the DGCE of OSRC, and let's know how he feels about what we have just done right now. Right now I'm with the DGC OSRC, Mr. Laji Akeredoluale. We want to hear him about what we have just done vis-a-vis the official commissioning of the DSNGOB van of OSRC by Mr. Governor, Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO. Sir.
Henry, I think I'm the happiest person here, because what has happened, it took only 10-15 minutes, but it has been something that has been in the plan since the year 2010, and you know how long ago that was. So for it to now just happen the way it happened, and believe it or not, as it now turns out, the commissioning was actually done by Chief Emeka Ayoku, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth. I don't think we could have asked for anything better than that. A diplomat par excellence, alongside the #1 citizen of ONDO State. I don't know. I guess for the first time in a very long time, I'm short of words to describe what has just happened. But let's just say that all glory to God. And I want to thank, at this point, all those who have worked tirelessly. And there have been a lot of such people, particularly the staff of OSRC, who have remained dogged, determined to see us through all the challenges that came with this exercise. And there were a lot of challenges. But today, it happened like clockwork. The van is now in use. All the various insinuations in various quarters about the type of van it was, what capacity it has, what it can do. I believe that today, we have finally laid all those to rest. As this, you probably heard Chief Ayoku say that this van is exactly like what he is used to seeing the BBC use. And I don't think there's any better endorsement of what we have here than that. The BBC is the world's #1 organization, and a media organization. And this is precisely what the BBC uses. So if our own governor, in his own wisdom, has decided to bring this to the good people of Ondo State, I think we should embrace it, we should use it, and we should use it as part of the transformation agenda of what is going on in Ondo State as of today.
Now, the commissioning has come and gone. What are those things expected of the users, especially us, OSRC staff?
Well, the first thing is that, as the governor himself pointed out, this is a very expensive piece of equipment. It's very delicate. So, maintenance is key. And part of the maintenance is the security of the equipment. That's what we are trying to ensure that we do. We intend to continue to maintain it, to keep it in good shape, to use it as directed by government, because of course to use it is not cheap, it's not free either. And what we'll be hoping to do is that it will form part of what will be our revenue generation drive. We will make it available for private organizations as well, both within and outside Ondo State. The commercial department is already working on a program for that, and we will soon discuss it at the level of management, approve it for them to go on. Now that it has been commissioned, what we were waiting for was for it to be commissioned, and now that has been done, and it's happening on the day that Governor Olusegun MIMIKO is exactly 7 years in office. I don't think we could have asked for anything better.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. It's nice to have you join us.
Thank you.
All right, we are still at the venue of the International Event Center, the Dome in Akure, where we are having so many activities. One of those activities has just been concluded, and any moment from now we shall go to the main venue where we shall be talking about the symposium to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the creation of the Sunshine State and the 7th anniversary of the present administration led by Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO. Thanks so much for being part of us. And let me tell you, it's a combined services of Ondo State radio and television services in conjunction with Orange 94.5 FM. Thank you so much. We are on. Stay with us.
Mr. Governor, sir, Your Excellency, the wife of the Governor, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Your Excellency, the wife of the Deputy Governor, Your Excellency, the former Governor of Ondo State, Your Excellency, the former Deputy Governor of ONDO State, the Right Honorable Speaker of the State House of Assembly, the Lord, the President of Supreme Court of Appeal, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, distinguished Senators of the Federal Republic, the President, members of the State House of Assembly, members of the State Executive Council, heads of security agencies, non-state present, chairmen and members of board of past status, permanent secretaries, other top government functionaries, distinguished highly revered chairman of this occasion, and former Secretary General of Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Ayobu, other distinguished invited guests, Your Royal Majesties and Highnesses, my Lord, spiritual and temporal, distinguished gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to this symposium, mark the 48th anniversary of the creation of our state, ONDO State, Dysfunctional State, the place of pride and most peaceful state in Nigeria today, and the 7th anniversary of the administration, purposeful administration, the impactful administration of Comrade Governor Dr. MIMIKO, CON. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to this program. My name is Billy Awugari. I'm not here alone, my brother. I come from here, Donald Fala is here with me. Donald, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome you all here. 7 years already, and I'm pretty sure that these 7 years mean a lot to us here in the First State, and to those outside of the State who are looking from outside. I'm pretty sure as well that what ONDO State represents to them is a model that can be deployed, that can be emulated, and that's what we celebrate here today. It's my pleasure, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to welcome you to this event. We will do a quick prayer, and as soon as we're done, we will dive into the midst of proceedings as slated for this event. May I welcome may I invite Pastor Olabda to please say a word of prayer for us to get this properly underway. Thank you.
Oh Lord, God, we come before you today not only to celebrate the dual opportunity that we have as individuals and as a government of ONDO State, but to appreciate your fatherly care and the grace we have received as a people and as a state that has been created 40 years ago, and the wonderful 7 years that we have experienced under the present administration in the state. We give all the glory to you. As we gather together, we commit the program of today to your care, and we pray that you will take absolute control, that at the end of everything, O God, will help us to glorify your holy name. We commit Mr. Governor and the family to you. We commit all invited guests, especially the chairman of this occasion, We commit the good people of Ondo State also to you, and we pray, O God, that we shall continue to enjoy the peace and the development that we have witnessed throughout our life. We ask for all these things through your Son, Jesus Christ.
Thank you very much, Mr. Let our hands together for Pastor Ola. Thank you very much, sir.
I would like to begin the process of introducing some of the distinguished guests here with us today. Before I go any further, ladies and gentlemen, because this is our home and our people, the people we've known all these many years, and because they constitute the pride that we put out there for the public to see every time and again. I will use this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to show once again to the world, to introduce again to these very fine Nigerians, the man who espoused the ideology that bore all of this, especially these past 7 years. It is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome His Excellency, Governor of Ondo State, Dr. MIMIKO. Quiet, unassuming, not the one to be in your face all the time, but a quiet achiever, a woman of great substance. She has given a lot of support to the man and a lot of reasons for people to truly follow this administration. Her Excellency, wife of the Governor, First Lady of Ondo State, Nigeria, Her Excellency Mrs. MIMIKO. Ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning we told you this is a symposium. It's a talk shop of sorts. We're trying to aggregate the thoughts, the ideals, the ideology that brought all of this to bear, and the reasons we should celebrate at this given time. And so, not only is the title apt, curtailing Nigeria's centrifugal forces, especially given the time we're in this country, but also it is of some great importance coming 7 years after this role began in Ondo State. And who better to chair this kind of epochal moment in the annals of the state? And so the choice of the following gentleman is apt, making a round hole, distinguished in no small measure, one of the finest exports from this country to the world, a man who serves with integrity, and a man we can look up to for direction, for leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, he is known to many of us as a former Secretary General of the Commonwealth. Today, we know him as a statesman and a man who is retiring but not tired. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome here His Excellency, Ambassador, the Chief, I'm very sure of that, His Excellency, Chief Emeka Anyoko, CFR, CON. Let's sustain the applause, please. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This next gentleman, I'm pretty sure, was chosen to be a part of the discussions for this event because of his rich history with activism in this part of the world. A man who has consistently constituted a thorn in the flesh of succeeding administrations, especially these past 30 years or so. Today he's here, known to many of us as a human rights activist, but more recently a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and a gentleman to boot. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Shehu Sani. Thank you, sir. This next gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, especially to a lot of us younger people, we felt he started out as a showbiz impresario, but I'm pretty sure that his life in the public glare started way, way before that. But today, he's known to many of us as one of the most visible figures in Nigeria's political firmament, a showbiz impresario still, a media mogul, and a man associated with everything pretty, ladies and gentlemen, from Bayelsa State, and more recently from the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Ben Mori-Bruce. The next gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, is a media manager of uncommon grace, one who has served this country creditably, and one who could still do more. It's known to us the last time he was most visible in the public glare as the Honorable Minister for Information. Is here with us today, and it is a great honor to have this great son of Nasarawa State with us this very day. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Labaran Mabu. The next gentleman exemplifies what the so-called handshake across the Niger could mean for the diverse peoples of this land. Just as we were stepping in here, I cited him and I told someone close by, this man is almost an ONDO State citizen. Not only is he a chief capped here in ONDO State, but he's one that understands the ideology of the ONDO State people. Most visible these past few years in some very positive measures. Ladies and gentlemen, the former chairman of the Labour Party, the party that brought this administration to power in 2009, His Excellency Barrister Dan. 'Why out?' The next gentleman is a media manager of uncommon grace, one who has served this country creditably, and one who could still do more. It's known to us the last time he was most visible in the public glare as the Honorable Minister for Information. Is here with us today, and it is a great honor to have this great son of Nasarawa State with us this very day. Ladies and gentlemen, the former chairman of the Labour Party, the party that brought this administration to power in 2009, His Excellency Barrister Dan. 'Why out?' Not too long ago, ladies and gentlemen, someone asked a rhetorical question, really. What would Nigeria's firmament, political, social firmament, look like without the Odumakins, both husband and wife? I guess you can provide answers to that, given all the efforts they have put into activism all these many years, and the efforts they have put into seeing that the deliverables of society are actually qualitative. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for this event, the publicity secretary of Afenifere, the Yoruba, the Apex Yoruba socio-political and social-cultural group, most recently a media guru, he has his own outfit now, and an activist to boot. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Publicity Secretary of Afenifere, Mr. Iyinka Tudumaki. And to complete this most wonderful lineup, I would like to introduce and also welcome a humanitarian, one deeply involved in the issues contained in the development of the northeast of Nigeria. And when I say that, I'm sure many Nigerians would readily say, if you are hands-on in the northeast at this time, you're probably one of the standing heroes of this country. And so a humanitarian is here in the person of Miss Ndi Hato. Please surround her, please.
Please let's put our hands together for our sponsors. Thank you. It is my honor and privilege to welcome to our midst His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of our state, Laji Abdulaziz Adikboyo. Your Excellency, you are welcome. I also welcome our Excellency, wife of the Deputy Governor, Laja Fatima Oluboyo. Your Excellency, welcome. I also welcome the Right Honorable Speaker of the ONDO State House Assembly, the first female Speaker of the Assembly of Hope. By the grace of God, ONDO State produced the first female Speaker during the tenure of Dr. MIMIKO, and Her Excellency, the wife of the Governor. Please put your hands together for Her Excellency, the wife of the Governor. Congratulations. Right Honorable Minister, Princess Jumoke Akindele, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you. I also recognize my Lord, the President of Somali Court of Appeal of Ondo State, Honorable Justice Folashade Abudatai, welcome. The Right Honorable Speaker of the Assembly, Right Honorable Fatai Olutu Abdulmabu, welcome, sir. I also very recognize Secretary of Government of the State, Dr. Adewale Adeola, welcome, sir. The Head of Service, Dr. Tony Adikwotu, welcome you. And Chief of Staff of the Governor, Dr. Kola Adewale, welcome, sir. For this meeting, Mr. Governor, to you, the three distinguished guests, as a point of contact to all other members of the State Executive Council. Thank you very much. All the commissioners are recognized and welcome you. Thank you. I also recognize the leader of the House of Assembly, who have made the news and point of contact to all other members of the Assembly, Honorable Ife Akisholu, Leader of the House, as a point of contact to all other members. Thank you very much for coming. I also recognize the former governor, military governor of our state, is now here alone, accompanied by his honorable wife. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome General Equidayo Okpalo, retired, and his wife. Please put your hands together for them. Thank you, Your Excellency. I also recognize the former deputy governor of our state, His Excellency Otumba Omolabi Oluwateru. Your Excellency, sir, welcome. I also recognize the chairman of the People's Democratic Party in ONDO State, Engineer Chief Clement Pabiode. Sir, I welcome you. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in ONDO State we so much respect our traditional rulers. We accord them deserved respect. I'd like to welcome Abiyesi, the chairman of the State Council of Traditional Rulers, and Oshimawe of ONDO Kingdom, Oba Dr. Victor Adesimbo Ilarido, CFR. Thank you. I also recognize His Royal Majesty, the landlord of the governor, that is the Deji of our Kingdom, Oba Ogunlade Alade Musi of the Dignitaries. God bless you. I also recognize Kabiyesi, the Oludare of the Carolinas of the Academy Momo, CENTRIFUGAL. Put your hands together for him. Kabiyesi, the Oludare of the Carolinas, is also in our midst. Of Garibo, Nagowa. Kabiyesi, thank you very much, sir. Kabiyesi, the ONDO of our kingdom, is also in our midst. I welcome humbly His Royal Majesty, Oba Dr. Victor Olademi, CFR. Put your hands together for him. Thank you very much, Kabiyesi. Also recognize Kabiyesi, the Amakutu of my kingdom, Oba Lawrence of Mowole, Kabiyesi. Thank you very much. I also recognize Kabiyesi, Dr. Okubaro, Oba Wafemi Okubaro. Kabiyesi, I welcome you. Thank you very much. Also in the list, ladies and gentlemen, how the former Secretary General of the Yoruba Council of Elders, Otumba Dr. Kunle Olagide Mamis. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you very much for coming. I also recognize the Distinguished Senator Femi Okulomo in our midst. Please put your hands together for him. The man in charge of contract, the man that granted grant to gather support for the success of the last contract. Thank you very much, sir, for what you have done for this great nation. I also recognize one of the elder statesmen in our midst, Chief Sendi Arugoba. Baba Arugoba, welcome you, sir. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize the chieftain of Nadeko and Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council, Osustek, that is ONDO State University of Science and Technology, Dr. Amos Akimba. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you. I also want to recognize former Minister of Education, Nigeria, Dr. Adewumi Abitoye. Dr. Abitoye, I welcome you. Thank you. Also in our midst, a quintessential son of this state, one of the National Merit Award winners, Professor Oladipo Adamuleko. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you very much, sir.
In the same breath, may I welcome His Excellency Ambassador Oladile Akadir. I'd like to also welcome National Chairman, National Conscience Party, the former National Chair of IPAC, Dr. Yunusa Tanko. We also welcome the former Chairman of the Labour Party in Ondo State, Chief Oluokidon.
Ladies and gentlemen, the former Managing Director of the Times, Chief Tola Adeni, is also in our midst. Please put our hands together for him. Thank you very much, sir. Also recognize the former PDP Southwest Chairman, Chief Ishola Pilani, in our midst. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. I also recognize the Vice Chancellor of the University of Medical Sciences, ONDO, Professor Friday Okunofa. Prof, I welcome you, sir. Thank you very much for coming. I also recognize a Professor of Surgery, University of Pune, Professor Odige Vincent. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. I also recognize the Chairman, Government Council, who are protected for Honorable Dr. Alabanlas Kajomo. Sir, I welcome you. I also recognize the Vice Chancellor of Elizabeth University, in Ondo State, Professor Kunle Wonduleke. Prof, I welcome you. Thank you. I also want to recognize the Vice Chancellor of the Best State University in Nigeria, our own Adekunle Ajayi University at Klagobo, Professor Ibekele Ajibes. Thank you very much. Let me also recognize another constitutional son of this state, as senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Ifedayo Adibikwe. Yes, welcome, sir. Thank you. Also, let me recognize very specially our chairman, local government chairman in Ondo State. They are here in line number. Please let the hands together for all the local government chairmen in Ondo State. Thank you very much for coming. God bless you. I also recognize all the chairmen, members, board, and parastatals in Ondo State. They are here in large number. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for them. God bless all of you. Also recognize all our permanent secretaries. Permanent secretary in Ondo State, I can see them there. This is I can see all them there. Please put your hands together for them. All the permanent secretaries, God bless you. Thank you very much for working closely with the government of this state to achieve success. Thank you very much.
Please allow me to also welcome a special guest of Mr. Governor, Colonel Tony A.M. Retired. He's here with us. I'd like to welcome a former Secretary of Government in the days of Papa Adekunle Ajayi, Chief M.A. Kumbola. He's here with us. We have Chief Boyega Faxing Lane with us. A round of applause, please. We have Mr. Tony Uranta, an activist from the south part of Nigeria. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will continue with the recognitions as we find time to. And a quick return, we have here representing 32 Artillery Brigade of Ondo State, Brigadier General Charles Okoche. We have here the Deputy Sector Commander of the FRSC, Ondo State Command, G.A. Adibikwe. Deputy State Controller, representing the Commandant of the NDLEA, Ibrahim Bashir. Deputy Controller, Nigerian Immigration Service, Kyari Mohammed. Deputy Controller Customs, Bologi UI. And of course, we have the Controller Prisons, Ondo State Command, Osayode OA. Thank you, gentlemen. let's say that's the first part of our introductions. We will find time to do more as we progress. Ladies and gentlemen, we move to the next item. As I invite here the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, who doubles as Chairman, Planning Committee for both the 40th anniversary of ONDO State, Nigeria, and the 7th anniversary of this administration. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Akin Adaramola.
Your Excellencies, our royal fathers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government and people of ONDO State, I heartily welcome the symposium titled Containing Nigeria's Centrifugal Forces that is organized to commemorate the 48th anniversary of the creation of ONDO State and the 7th anniversary of Dr. MIMIKO CON in office as Governor of ONDO State. I cannot but welcome in a very special way the chairman of today's discourse, our revered and distinguished elder statesman and foremost nationalist, Chief Emeka Ayoko, ECPO, CON, CFR, and former Commonwealth Secretary General. I also like to warmly welcome all our distinguished discussants, who are indeed eminent Nigerians, whom we are proud of. It is also my pleasure to welcome all of you Nigerians who have spared your time to come and participate in this discourse, meant to genuinely distill solutions to intractable challenges that have stunted our growth and the realization of the dreams of the founding fathers of the Nigerian nation state. Many of us in our adult life have been burdened by the need to emplace the essentials that can make our dear country Nigeria operate as a truly federal state, which gives a sense of belonging to all and sundry. Regrettably, our long history of statehood is yet to take us nearer to our dream of nationhood. Worse is the rise of forces within and without that have continually strived to tear apart the very fabric of our national existence. The above has encouraged the governor of our Sunshine State, Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO, to organize this symposium as part of his contribution to efforts of patriotic Nigerians at getting lasting solutions to the challenges of nation building. It is our hope that after today's symposium, we will come up with ideas to keep Nigeria as one united, strong, and indivisible polity, with ample respect for cultural, religious, and linguistic differences. It is on this ground that the ONDO State government has invited all of you, elder statesmen, professionals, faith groups, labor groups, public servants, traditional rulers, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen to come round and judge. It is our conviction that despite the enormous challenges that confront our country, the magnificence of its human assets, as exemplified by world-class technocrats and policy experts, is beyond debate. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for the next 2 or 3 hours, we are going to be here to brainstorm on issues relating to Nigeria, our beloved country. Once again, I salute you all for your belief and commitment to Project Nigeria, which has made you to be part of this symposium. I appreciate our chief host and convener of this symposium Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO, CON, Governor of ONDO State, for the initiative as well as his belief and commitment to the success of Project Nigeria. You demonstrated the same commitment with your support during the national conference, the confab, and I'm sure you will continue the fight until we are able to emplace Nigeria that we shall all be proud of. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, the Chairman of the Planning Committee and Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, ONDO State, Mr. Akin Aderamula. Please let's put our hands together for him once again. Thank you. May I recognize former member, House of Representatives, and National President, Association of Nigerian Authors, Dr. Honorable Wale Okedira in our midst. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. I also recognize the State Director of NUA, Mr. Bode Famosi, I recognize you, and the representative of the Commandant, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, ONDO State. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're drawing very, very near the very soul of the event. I'd like to read the citation of Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to seek his indulgence not to edit this. You requested that I cut it short, but I'd like to do it for the benefit of many of us young people who only heard stories, who may be too young to aggregate the ideals that you stood for while in service. Ladies and gentlemen, here it goes. Chief Eliezer Chukwuemeka Ayoku was born on the 18th of January 1933 in Obosi, Nigeria. Not only is he a chief through lineage, but also through his exceptional leadership skills. His career in leadership spans many decades and institutions, both national and international. The promotion of democracy on the African continent has always been his primary focus and an area of concern. His precociousness in leadership showed when he joined the Commonwealth Development Corporation at the age of 26 in 1959. Shortly after the Nigerian independence, the new government invited him to join the country's diplomatic service. In 1963, he was posted to Nigeria's permanent mission at the United Nations in New York. After the establishment of the Commonwealth Secretariat, Chief Ayoku became Assistant Director of Internal Affairs. He was seconded to the organization by the first Secretary General, Arnold Smith of Canada. He later became a director, and by 1975, Chief Ayoku became Assistant Secretary General. In 1977, Commonwealth governments elected him Deputy Secretary General with responsibility for international affairs and the Secretariat's administration. His commitment to Africa remained with him, and in 1983, Chief Ayoku returned to Nigeria to serve as the country's foreign minister. On the overthrow of the government by the military, he went back to his Commonwealth position as Deputy Secretary General. In 1989, Chief Ayoku was elected third Commonwealth Secretary General. He proved an indispensable leader in matters of national, continental, and international political leadership, and was re-elected at the 1993 Limassol Commonwealth Heads of Governments meeting for a second 5-year term. His career as a leader spans over 30 years of Commonwealth initiatives and negotiations. It does not avoid dealing with matters that are controversial. Chief Ayoku's strength in leadership can be seen in his active involvement in issues such as the Gibraltar referendum of 1967, the Nigerian Civil War of 1967 to 1970, the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla constitutional crisis of 1969 to 1970, the problems following Commonwealth Games boycotts during the 1980s, and the process leading to peace and democracy in Zimbabwe, Namibia, and in particular, South Africa. Chief Ayoku was also closely involved in the establishment of a joint office in New York for small Commonwealth countries that are thus enabled to be represented at the United Nations. Concerning the liberation of South Africa, Chief Ayoku met the former president of the African National Congress, Oliver Reginald Tambo, in 1963, when he was junior officer in the Nigerian embassy to the United Nations. This meeting was a genesis to a lifelong friendship between Chief Ayoku and the Tambo family, resulting in the then president of the ANC, Tambo, introducing Chief Anyoko to Tambo's then personal assistant and later president of the Republic of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, in 1968. Additionally, in view of this closeness to the Tambo family, he was one of the few people, in fact, number 3 to be exact, after Trevor Huddleston and President Thabo Mbeki, who were invited to deliver lectures at the memorial lecture of Oliver Tambo. In 1990, on the release of former President Nelson Mandela from Portsmouth Prison, he hosted Madiba to his second dinner in London between the 1st of November 1991 and the 17th of November 1993. He visited South Africa 11 times, using his diplomatic skills in order to break deadlocks around the negotiation process in South Africa. In 1998, the former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, in recognition of Chief Emeka Anyoku's antecedents concerning South Africa and the manner in which he had championed the cause of the progressive movements around the world, afforded him the rare honor of addressing a joint sitting of the South African National Assembly. Lastly, former President Nelson Mandela wrote the foreword to Chief Chukwuemeka Anyoku's book titled Eye of Fire. In early 1997, he organized the first African Commonwealth Head of Government's Roundtable to promote democracy and good governance on the continent. However, he still honors his traditional duties, serving as chief in the midst of his international commitments. Anyoku continues to fulfill the duties of his office as Ichie Adazi of Obosi, a traditional Idiche chieftaincy title. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Emeka Anyoku.
Yes, I think it's okay. Your Excellency, Governor of ONDO State, Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO, Your Excellency, the First Lady, Madam MIMIKO, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor, and Madam Deputy Governor, because of the rather intimidating list of distinguished persons here, and because of the pressure of time, may I be allowed to stand on the existing protocols and just say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly honored by the invitation from His Excellency, the Governor of ONDO State, to be here today to chair this symposium, which is part of the celebration of two important events. The first is the 40th anniversary of ONDO State. ONDO State has survived 40 years as a state, and that is worth celebrating. And the second is that today, the 40th anniversary of ONDO State coincides with the 7th anniversary of the present administration of Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO. And I think, as you will hear me say later, there's a lot that is worth celebrating for Dr. MIMIKO's stewardship. So let me congratulate ONDO State on attaining 40, and let me congratulate His Excellency Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO, who has for the last 7 years steered the affairs of this state with demonstrable achievements. I must confess that the last time I was in Akure, ONDO State, was some 51 years ago. It was when my wife and I, newly married, were on a journey from Abeokuta, the home of my wife, to Obosi in what is now Anambra State, my home, and we stopped over in Akure at the catering rest house to spend the night because we traveled in 2 days. Since my arrival here yesterday, I have seen a number of things, and I can't quite believe that it's the same Akure that I visited then. And I have seen, in particular, I have seen a number of landmarks which, on questioning, I've been told were built during Dr. MIMIKO's governorship. And from that, I can say that this word that is often abused is genuine and truly applicable to Dr. MIMIKO's stewardship, and the word is transformation. To give you just one example, before coming here, once the governor invited me, I asked to be taken to see the medical village. And I visited that yesterday. And my reason for doing so was that for the last 7 years, I've been reading of Dr. MIMIKO's dogged dedication to adding value to human life through the project of safe motherhood, reflecting a commitment to safer childbirth and the reduction of maternal mortality in the state. The Safe Motherhood Project, emblematized by the medical village with the Mother and Child Ultramodern Hospital, demonstrates, I believe, Dr. MIMIKO's determination to leave this state better than he found it at the beginning of his stewardship. It was for this and other praiseworthy development projects that the House of Representatives Committee on the Millennium Development Goals in 2013 commended ONDO State for meeting some of the significant landmarks in the implementation of the Millennium Development Goals that expired just last year. I believe that if we had more of what I saw yesterday at the University of Medical Sciences, if we had more of that in other states of the Federation, we will succeed in greatly stemming the growing tide of overseas medical tourism by Nigerians, which is costing the nation, according to the 2012 estimate by the leadership of the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, costing the country no less than 150 billion naira every year. If other states were to copy what Dr. MIMIKO, what the Governor MIMIKO has done in this state, I believe that that goal of reducing Nigeria's medical tourism will be achieved. And let me now go to the theme of the symposium. containing Nigeria's centrifugal forces. We have here an array of accomplished and notable Nigerians as our discussants, and I am sure that they will do justice to the subject. But suffice it for me to say that Nigeria has not been a stranger to centrifugal forces, especially since the military intervention in the governance of this country in January 1966. Today we have what I would describe as three ranges of centrifugal forces. The first is the benign socio-cultural groups like the Arewa, the Afenifere, the Ohanese, the Jaw Council, and other similar organizations. And then you have the more activist and potentially divisive but still largely non-violent groups like the OPC, MEND, MASOB with its splinter group, the IPOB. And then thirdly, you have what I would describe as the seriously violent groups like the Boko Haram and the Fulani herdsmen. My view, which I articulated most recently at the Ibadan School of Government and Public Policy, is that restructuring the country's present governance architecture by adopting a truer federalism will go a long way in enabling us to achieve the speedier development and the political stability which will reduce or eliminate the causes of the centrifugal forces in Nigeria. But that's a summary of my view on that. But I would like to end my comments with a comment on a very topical issue that is tangentially related to the theme of the symposium. Only tangentially related. And I mean the debate on whether or not the Naira should be devalued. In my view, those calling for official devaluation of the Naira need to come up with a good answer to Nigeria's basic present situation, problematic situation with its currency. There is an incontrovertible fact that with the present level of the country's dependence on imported goods, which results in a monthly import bill that is 4 times the value of our main export, which is traded in dollars, official devaluation of the Naira vis-à-vis the dollar will inevitably produce a further rise in inflation to the detriment of all of us, including especially the masses. And besides, in such circumstances, devaluation will lead to an unacceptable drain on our country's external reserves, which is already worryingly depleted. The crux of the challenge we face with the current world price for crude oil is to devise policies for reducing the level of the country's dependence on imported goods, while in the meantime allowing the Naira to float in the unofficial currency market, with adequate safeguards being put in place by the government to check round-tripping in the management of the foreign exchange. In my view, the President should, as a matter of urgency, convene a meeting of carefully chosen economic experts in the country to discuss this item and the wider issue of how to deal with the country's current economic crisis. But as I said, this is a topic tangentially related to the theme of the conference, but I will now leave it to our very eminent discussants to speak about the theme of the symposium. I thank you all.
Another round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Chairman. Now the discussions will begin, and Mr. Chairman will moderate. When you're ready, sir.
Yes, all right, I will now call the discussants. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we've now come to the meat, to discussing the meat of the symposium. And I would like, as they sit, starting from my left, not that I am a leftist, but I believe that on this occasion I will want to start with the discussant on my left, Mr. Shevisani.
Your Excellency, the able Governor of ONDO State, Dr. MIMIKO, Your Excellency, the First Lady, Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished members of the high table, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I carefully listened to the presentation by our able, ever young father and grandfather. And I fully accepted his analysis and categorization of Nigeria's centrifugal forces. And what I will fundamentally agree, either for personal reason or for my own view on it, was the categorization of Fulani headsmen together with the Boko Haram. I think what we need to clearly understand, that in all the forces that were mentioned, there was none attached to a particular ethnic group, except the headsmen. And I believe if we shouldn't attach a particular nationality or a tribe with a certain crime, it is wrong to say an Igbo hard drug pusher, or to say an Igbo armed robber, or a Yoruba Yahoo 419, or an Ijo oil thief.
I will not accept personally to attach herdsmen that are violent to the Fulani ethnic stock. We must understand the situation, the climatic factors that usually pushes the Fulani from the north to the south. And the Fulani don't just start coming to the southern part of Nigeria in the last 5, 6, 7, or 8 years. They have been here for centuries. And the problems that they do face now has to do with climatic factors from the north that pushes them down to the south. Boko Haram is a terror organization with a leadership and with also a theocratic agenda. For those who have been following events in the last 6 to 7 years, you have seen how some of us from the north, particularly myself, I try to find an alternative means of addressing the problems of the insurgency, for which I took the risk of reaching out to the insurgents and initiating a process of dialogue for about 3 to 4 times, and it was sabotaged by those who were benefiting from the bloodshed. And I think unfolding events in the country clearly shows to all Nigerians that there were people who see that 7 years of bloodshed, of mass murder, of genocide as an opportunity for them to amass wealth. It is not possible to say an insurgent group of people that are not more than 2,000 to 3,000 have proved so impossible for a nation of 175 million people to crush. A nation like ours with a reputable armed forces that have performed credibly well in peacekeeping missions in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Congo, and many other countries of the world. But it's so clear that some see it as an opportunity. Just like the way Chinese said, some people see crisis as trouble and some see it as opportunity. Then some people saw it as opportunity, and that's why it dragged so long. But I hope in the present administration, at least progress has been made in terms of degrading the capacity and ability of the Boko Haram to launch, to take over territories. I've been very careful about using this technical defeat of thing. And they have returned back to, the initial strategy was to send terrorist group to bomb targets, and then they metamorphosed into an ISIS-inspired group, taking over territories, hosting flags and unfolding their own Islamic rule. And then now they have returned back to hitting soft targets. Something that bothers all of us here in the line of the insurgency is, when will the Chibok girls be freed? Someone said the Chibok girls will never be freed. But I can tell you that they will be freed. And they are alive. All that need to be done is to explore other options. Because there are 2 ways to get them. The first is to use force to free them. And before you apply force, you have to know where they are. You also have to weigh the consequences of raiding a camp with such number of persons because the insurgents have nothing to lose. The second option is to explore ways to which you can at least extract them, get them out of the crosshair through negotiation. And negotiation is still possible. There are few people, not a panel or a committee of eminent Nigerians, as I used to say. There are few people whom the government need to reach out, and then we must agree why it became impossible to get them out in the previous negotiations was the fact that one side is not ready to make concession. They said they are going to free them on condition we free their people. And then when we come to negotiating table, and the government said we can't free these ones because they have done a lot of harm. And Sani, please collect them from them so I will think about it. Now, nobody is going to do that. Nigerian centrifugal forces, to a larger extent, poses a serious threat to our national unity and stability. And I believe that another forces that were not mentioned there were those ones that unlawfully and illegally amassed wealth, who will certainly fight back. So I would say in this, the paper gave us a reason to understand the problems we face and the various forces that poses such problems to us as a nation. And I will say this, the present administration... Are you Nigerians? Are you proud to be a Nigerian? Do you fly your carrier? Do you eat your food? Do you eat your food? You eat Nigerian food. You fly your carrier. You function and think like a Nigerian. Nobody here is British, am I correct? Nobody here is Chinese, nobody here is Japanese. Yes, and you think. And when God distributed intelligence equally among all nations of the world. He didn't leave out Nigeria. He didn't say, I'm going to give intelligence to the Japanese and the French and the Americans, and say, well, Nigerians, you have no intelligence. All of us were born with intelligence, and we use our intelligence. And if we use your intelligence, then why are we such an economic mess? Because we choose to. Leaders choose to put us in this mess because it benefits them. Chaos has a price. When there's chaos, somebody makes a profit from chaos. We enjoy having chaos. It makes us rich. The 1% of population, it makes them rich. Everybody's talking about state police. But everybody forgets before 1966, we had native authorities. We had state police before 1966. And we were safe. Before 66, we had 3 regions, North, East, and West. The West and the East had relations with Israel. The North did not. We had democracy in a special kind of way. Now we come together. 55% of the budget is kept at the federal government and starving the states to death. So you have states with no money. So people like Governor MIMIKO has no money to develop the states. But he's doing the best with what he has. We must change the whole federal system to reflect what really makes sense. The center is not close to the states. You are close to the states. You should have the money. And people must learn to recall governors who do not spend the money developing their states. If you spend the money buying your houses in Dubai, you cannot say you're the governor of a particular state and every weekend I see you in Dubai, and I see you. I see you in London, I see you in Paris, flying all over the world with your private jets, yet your people are suffering. When I became a politician and I ran for public office, I saw my people living under trees. I used to joke that they lived under the bridge. But when I ran in Bayelsa, there were no bridges, so I lived under the tree. If I see my people living under the tree, how can I turn around the next day and I want to buy a $100,000 watch? What conscience do I have trying to buy a $100,000 watch when the people who voted me into office live under the tree? They can't even eat 1 meal a day. What sense does that make? We are the cause of our problem. And you must learn how to impeach your leaders. You must learn how to get your leaders out of office. They don't take care of your needs. The centrifugal forces, we are the problem.
the 1% of the people of Nigeria, the leaders of Nigeria. They are the problem. You vote them into office. Every 4 years they give you money and you vote them into office. Well, don't take the money. If you take the money, vote them out of office because they do not deserve to be your leaders. They are the problems, not you. You deserve to go to school. You deserve to eat 3 meals a day. You deserve jobs. You deserve to make a living. You deserve housing. You deserve a life. But if they take all that money and keep it for themselves, you get nothing. What sense does it make to come into this world if you have nothing? You cannot even eat 1 meal a day. What sense does it make? I toured hospitals yesterday, and I saw babies. I saw mothers, cesarean operation. I saw hospitals. I saw primary schools better than the school. I went to St. Gregory's College, one of the most expensive private schools in all of Nigeria. And I saw a public school here better than the school I attended in the 60s. That means we cannot condemn everyone. Some of us have a conscience. Some of us want to lead. Some of us want to make a difference. You must support those that want to make a difference. You celebrate 40 years and 7 years of the MIMIKO administration. A man like that should never leave politics and stay in and teach those who want to consume all the resources of the nation that this must stop. There are 2 kinds of people in this world. 2 kinds. You are either a producer or you're a consumer. Production leads to freedom. Consumption leads to fatness. You must produce to be free. It is very, very important. You must say to yourself every day, I want to produce. I want to generate wealth. I want to be creative. Nigerians are the most creative people on planet Earth. I tell you that. And Nigeria, let me tell you this. This is very sad for me to say. Nigerians have always led the government. Usually government lead the people. But Nigerian people lead the government. Take, for instance, the movie industry. Can anybody say, with good conscience, that any government, federal or state, helped the movie industry develop? Can anybody get up and say the government helped the movie industry? The movie industry, the 3rd biggest on earth, developed all by themselves. No help from government. Can anybody say the music industry survived or grew because of government? They grew in spite of government. The biggest musicians in the world today are Nigerians. The biggest movie stars in the world today are Nigerians. And I tell you this, agriculture, we can feed the whole of Africa if we put a mind to it. But then we need help. The central bank must say, if you have a farm, I will give you money at 5% interest. 5% interest, you can grow your farm. If you have an idea, you patent it, and I will give you money at single-digit interest for you to have a loan, for you to develop that particular business. But you have no money. So when you go to the bank, you see those bankers with dark suits, dark glasses, they look like mafia dons. They're not interested in giving you money. They're not interested in giving you money. But what do you have as collateral? Your collateral to grow this economy is your brain. That is your collateral. So why don't you give them your collateral and give you that money to grow the economy? That is what they ought to do. The former vice president told me the other day that no bank is giving money to anybody in the northeastern part of Nigeria because of Boko Haram. Imagine the poverty you're creating if no cash goes to the northeastern part of the country. Just imagine, think for a minute, the level of poverty you're creating because you do not feel anybody from the northeast has any chance to make a living. 10, 20, 30, 40 million people have no access to capital. Yet, at the end of the year, they tell you how much profit they have made. Profit for who? What is your social responsibility for making all that money? What conscience do you have as a human being, as an African? When you walk on the street and you see a poor kid that has no clothes, no shoes, can't have no hope, and they start killing and stealing. And I said it 1,000,000 times, and everybody pay attention. The generation you leave behind, the forces you unleash on Nigeria, the forces you unleash, they have access to the internet. They know how to make a bomb. They know how to make a gun. They know how to kill. They'll take you out. So you have a choice. If they live, you live. If they don't live, you die. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Ben. May I now invite Mr. Labaran Maku.
Mr. Chairman, our always erudite Mekanyaku, my friends, discussants, Your Excellency, our Chief Host, the Iroko, and his amiable wife, the First Lady of ONDO State, Your Royal Highnesses, Obas and Chiefs, distinguished elders of the Yoruba Nation and of ONDO State, citizens and friends, ladies and gentlemen. I want to begin by identifying with our chairman's comments on ONDO State under the Iroko. This isn't my first time of coming. The last time, as Minister of Information, Governor MIMIKO invited me to see what he was using ICT to do. E-learning has now become a permanent feature of education in those states. I launched the program, and I thought it was the normal way of launching and then nothing happened subsequently. But yesterday I went to quite a few primary schools with him, and I saw that in every primary school there is a computer lab, even for children in the primary school and secondary schools and so on. And I think it's investing in the right place. And the structures I saw yesterday of primary education in those states. And he said he has built quite a few schools like that. We haven't been able to go all over the state to see them. But the samples we saw yesterday were very, very encouraging. And they give me the impression that with time, public education will become the #1 education in our country. I'm a product of public education. And many people seated here are products of our own public education in the West. And that is why Western Nigeria today has gone not only ahead of Nigeria, but that the Yorubas today are collectively the most educated ethnic nationality in this continent. And that is the lesson of getting the leaders that invest in what their people's future lie. And Iroko continuing with that tradition of education on those states, which we also know, Ondo Ekiti, is the professor's belt in the country. Now, continuing with that kind of investment will only mean that the southwest of Nigeria will continuously bypass most parts of the country. And I can't talk of anything that is better than investing in education. We also went to the hospital that our chairman spoke about. And I was very encouraged to see the things we saw. Children being born free in a well-stocked, free, functional, and the environment looks like a hospital. And that investment that is doing in the medical care and education will lay the foundation that will lead in the future. You need healthy and educated people to be able to develop your community. And so I'm very, very encouraged. And I believe this hall is also probably the first function that is being conducted here on this anniversary. And if you have places like this, and the dome we saw yesterday, and the streets that are lit without potholes coming up, then we would seriously talk about tourism within the nation. And I want to encourage Governor MIMIKO to keep his eyes on the target. Eyes on the target. Run your race as a 100-meter athlete. When you are finishing is when you really need to run faster and chest out until you break the tape. That is what you need to do. Because performance does not hide. Good leadership doesn't hide. And I think I'm very encouraged by the things. So we won't speak much on this because I have 15 minutes. Now, coming back to our
nation. First, I am a fanatical Nigerian. I believe in Nigeria because as a history student, I have no doubt in my mind that acts of the Egyptian Empire in 332, Alexander the Great marched onto Egypt and took over Egypt, and Africa continued to decline. The Ionian Islands took over, then Greece, then Rome, then Western Europe. No nation has been founded on the surface of Africa that holds so much possibility for black people like Nigeria. And I believe, honestly, and I'm very sorry, sir, I'm a chairman because for several reasons. I believe that British colonialism did not intend to leave Africa with this kind of beautiful state with capacity to develop the human energy that will project Africans positively to the rest of the world. But people have said severally that Nigeria is a colonial expression. Nigeria is a colonial expression founded by the colonialists, or a nation founded by violence. Which nation was founded by lovemaking? There is no nation that was founded by lovemaking. The Oyo Empire was founded by people who conquered other parts of Yoruba land and subjected them to the empire and provided leadership and pacified them until they believed in the Oyo Empire. Every other political state in the world was founded by princes that had ambition, had political power, had economic capacity, military capacity to subdue the surrounding territories under their rule. That's how nations are founded. Britain that colonized us was a colony of Rome. And it became really known when Julius Caesar marched onto the British Isles. We should not forget, Britain was a colony of Rome. France was a colony. Germany was a colony. All the European states that colonized were certain state colonies. America has emerged from colonial heritage to lead the world. India has emerged in 1947 as a colony. It is virtually now moving to be the number 3 economy in the world. So the fact that we came into existence through a colonial conquest is the same way other nations came into being. We can move from there to create the greatest nation on earth. America is an example. India is an example. Britain itself, France, Germany, all the European nations are examples. And for us in Africa, we cannot afford to allow this country to fail. Because if Nigeria fails, the disaster is too much. Even as weak as we have been, unable to find our place, our feet, to stand together as one man. Even in our weakness, we have given strength and force to Africa. Where will Zimbabwe be today? Where will Rhodesia be now? Where will Namibia, South Africa? Angola became independent because Nigeria was a free state. As a student, we used to donate our uniform, our clothes to South Africa. We were there from the youth solidarity on Southern Africa to make sure we helped Southern Africa to be free, because we belong to a country that had the momentum to do those things for the rest of Africa. Even in the most recent years, it is when Nigeria became democratic that West Africa is now getting democratic. The coups are ending because our country has moved away, and all those countries that attempted coups in recent times could not succeed because the big power that was giving them encouragement to dictatorship is gone. And so Nigeria holds such possibility, such wide possibility. And today we're talking about economy of scales. European countries look too small now with the emergence of China, United States. They have formed EU. Today they are negotiating greater power and capacity for themselves. So nations are coming together because economy of scale is important. You manufacture sweets in ONDO, you sell up to Sokoto, you sell up to Niger Delta, you sell up to... You don't have to worry about any custom boundaries. So Nigeria is so important for the black people in the world. And that's why I believe in this nation. And so the things I'm going to say are out of love for our country to be stronger than it is now. Today, we are not exercising that strength because there are certain silent issues in the underbelly of Nigeria that are not working. So it's not just to come and I know there are other issues that I don't want to speak about current affairs But I'm going to talk to you. Because since 1951, Nigeria has been struggling to stand. We go forward, we move backward. We go forward, we move back. Because there are centrifugal forces. Sectional, religious, ethnocentric forces that have continued to undermine the development of the country. Why did India rise so quickly? Because India had a Nehru, a Gandhi, who rose beyond any factionalization, was able to put the rest of the country together. In our country, we have problems. Whether we want to be Nigerians or whether we want to be sectionalists, but the truth of the matter is that for a heterogeneous nation like Nigeria, we need to debate the basis of that unity such that whether I'm a Yoruba man, whether I'm a Kanuri man, whether I'm a Tigbo, whether I'm an Igbo man in the Niger Delta, I can believe in this country because I am guaranteed justice. I am guaranteed justice. I am guaranteed equal representation. I'm guaranteed equal respect in the federation so that our children will not need to quarrel. They will only be discussing how to move forward. Those issues are still here. We saw them at the last constitutional conference. And those issues, if we ignore them, what will happen is that Nigeria will continue to walk on clay feet, elephant on clay feet. We can't move forward. We need to resolve those issues. So the debate about our nationhood is very crucial. And I tell you this thing. Ever since the crisis of the First Republic, particularly the crisis of the alliances on the United Progressive Grand Alliance, the event that led to the collapse of the First Republic, the issue that continued to linger in Nigeria, certain things have refused to go away. And I'm worried today, for example, because I'm the National Secretary of the All Progressive Grand Alliance. Why, after 3 years of civil war, we will have our youth that are still talking about going to war in the southeast? Because there must be there are roots, there are foundations that we need to look at. Why are we still there? Why are we still there? Because there are issues that we have swept under the carpet. We need to bring them out and discuss them. Issues of equity between regions. Issues of justice, even within states. There are major issues. There are forces that have been invested in religion, invested in ethnicity, invested in violence, and they are making the progress of Nigeria impossible. It is not all about poverty. There are beliefs in our heads. There are perceptions in our heads. And we need to discuss those things so that Nigerians can be at liberty with one another. We want to see a country where no matter who comes to power, I don't care because I know that the foundation of unity is established. That's where America is now. That's why Western countries are. We still have those problems in our country. In many places, for example in north central Nigeria, you have low intensity ethno-religious wars that are going on. If you move from southern Kaduna to Plateau to Taraba to Benue to Nasarawa, there are no 2 weeks without people being killed. Crisis between grazers and farmers, ethno-religious, they take different dimensions. But it's all rooted to politics. It's all rooted to politics. So we need to really look at that. And the other point I would want to make, why is it that in some states now, you have two ethnic groups living together? Once one has 1% over the other people will never rule that state again. Take Benue as an example. Take Benue as an example. Kogi, we are just having an experiment now. We don't know whether it is going to stand constitutionally or not. And in most of these places, groups will set up religious forces to divide communities and insist that they must hold on to power to the exclusion of the other people. And then you begin to have violence and killings and destructions. And politicians continue to invest in these centrifugal forces to undermine development, to undermine national unity, to undermine the progress that Nigeria should be making. These are facts, these are issues that I believe for us to clean up Nigeria and move forward, we must look into. If we don't, we will be there. I was here in 1993 as a political editor of a newspaper in Lagos. When June 12th election was annulled, I got fever on my own political desk. And I had predicted 1 week before that the election was going to be annulled. And I wrote it in my column. Those who read it will remember. I said next week's election will be nullified. And the election was nullified. I wanted to be predicted wrongly, but unfortunately, I was shocked that the prediction came to pass. Now, look at the torment we have gone through as a result of those actions. I would not want to speak on current issues because I've been the spokesperson of the last administration. Even though I've left PDP, I'm in Abga, I don't want to turn this into a debate between the last and this administration. The issue I want to raise today is that no matter what happened in the last dispensation, I think May 29, 2015 was a day of glory for Nigeria and Africa. Was a day of glory for Nigeria and Africa. We worked with President Jonathan, and I know what he told me. He said, look, it is better I lose the election and let Nigeria move forward than to continue with an electoral system that wherever I go in the world, people keep abusing us that we are not doing free and fair elections. That was the time he was appointing Jega. And he said, look, I am tired. If I can fix election in Nigeria, whoever wins, whoever loses, I would have done my duty to this country. That's what Jonathan told us. And when he was appointed Jega, he was asked, this man, you don't know him. He said he wants somebody he does not know, so that there will be no influence. Now, if you look at elections that are taking place, I think, statesmen, nobody can solve all the problems of Nigeria. Do one great thing, let the nation build on it, we'll be moving forward. And so when he took the telephone to congratulate General Buhari, this nation stood taller. This nation stood taller before the eyes of the world. Whether you like it or not, that is what the world wants to see. Whether a leader in Africa, in Nigeria, which is the largest country, can organize an election in which he loses and accept the defeat and goes away. Mobutu once said he cannot fail in an election which he organized. That's what Mobutu said. If you don't forgive, but that's what he said. He said, I cannot fail an election that I organize. What type of election is like that? Now we have come to the point in the history of this nation where a sitting president organized an election. He didn't win. Of course, there were issues. If he wanted to debate it, he could have debated it now. He said, no, please, gentlemen, I as president, let me walk out. This is my moment. So that my nation can build from there. And I think that is very great. That is something that this nation must never forget. Because don't take it for granted. We saw what happened in Cote d'Ivoire. We saw what has happened in Uganda. We have seen what is going on. Where people are ruling and never failing an election that they organized. Today we are seeing a different electoral scape in Nigeria. Now, this is the environment. This is the environment that I saw. And now, President Buhari has come on board. What is required is for him to unite the nation behind him. That's all. If he can unite the nation behind him on issues and matters, because I don't believe that as a politician, I'm a partisan politician, but I don't believe that my nation should fail. If you ask any government to fail, it's the nation that is failing. We want every government to succeed because it will take the nation from one stage to another. But I can tell you this, if God gives him the wisdom about what to do to unite the nation behind him and bring the right kind of people that are thinkers and seers and visionaries, our nation will be somewhere else in 2019. But if we engage in recrimination, what happens is that that moment is lost. We continue to divide ourselves and move in direction that will not bring the progress we require. So let me here conclude by saying there are issues in the underbelly of our nation that need discussion. Very important. There are issues at the regional level, there are issues at the national level, there are issues even at the state level. If we sweep them away, our progress will be retarded. There are certain others that will continue to be part of us as we grow and move faster. So let me thank MIMIKO for bringing us here from diverse political parties and background to once again see friends and colleagues and rejoice with them and rejoice with ONDO State for the progress that it has made under you. I want you to ensure that God go into prayer, that God will bring people after you that will continue to show love and compassion. Somebody talked about our leaders going abroad. If ONDO State looks like this and somebody is going on holiday in Dubai, we'll ask him, why are you going to Dubai? Go to holiday in Akure. You don't have to go on holiday in Dubai. I've never been on holiday abroad since 1999. I've never gone abroad. I go to holiday in my village. Yeah, that's where I go. Every holiday I'm in my village. I've never been abroad. Because I've not seen British, American, Indian politicians coming for holiday in Nigeria. And we have better climates. We have genial climates. No extreme heat, no extreme cold, no dust in the air. This is Africa. This is West Africa. We should be the holiday center of the world. So let us learn to do things in Nigeria. As Minister of Information, I launched the campaign Made in Nigeria, remember. And we mounted the campaign. Maybe the time has come for us to change our minds and change our values and change our tastes. I thank you for your attention.
It's always fascinating to go on listening to a riveting speech, and the tendency is to forget the constraint of time. I would, in inviting our next speaker, just politely make the point about time. Please.
Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency Chief Anyoku, fellow discussants, the Governor of ONDO State, Dr. MIMIKO, the amiable wife, Olukemi MIMIKO, Deputy Governor, Speaker House, our royal fathers, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by congratulating the state for inviting me. When the governor called me a few days ago that something like this will be happening, I said, of course I'll be there, because I was there when it started. And I knew he was going to be a good governor. That was why I allowed him to run under the platform of the Labour Party as the national chairman. Don't ask me how I knew that. You can ask me when I leave here. But when I left the office last year, 2014, and finally left the party in February, I saw a lot of changes when I came this morning. I saw the dome, I saw this place, even though we started the dome before I left. I have virtually visited all the 36 states of the Federation. I stand to be corrected. There is no state in Nigeria that has what we have here. And I will be quick to say, he has about 12 months to go. It is for the people of these states not to elect anybody that would destroy the legacies I won't say we put in place in this place. If you bring a stranger he will start his own programs. Mother and Child Hospital, all the other programs, we've had over 600 of them up to the time I left. You have to look for somebody that has been part of the system, that understood the thinking, the vision of the governor. You may throw me away, but don't throw this advice away. Because if you don't think carefully, and it doesn't matter where the person comes from, he can come from Akoko, he can come from Iloluji, he can come from Okutipoba, he can come from Akure. Once he has that intellectual capacity, he's educated, he's humble, he can reach the people, and he can continue with the programs. Please elect him. I know what I'm saying. You don't have to try any new thing. When former minister spoke, he said he's a secretary of a party. Luckily, I don't belong to any political party, so I can say anything from my heart. I am partyless, and I've been partyless for 1 year. So please, what we started in 2009, don't destroy it as a result of where this man came from. It is our turn. We have to repeat it. We have to do this. What should concern you now is to take the state from the place MIMIKO will be living it into a higher height. And that is my advice. I tried to put something down last night on this topic containing Nigeria's centrifugal forces. Centrifugal forces are forces outside the center pulling it away. The opposite of this is centrifugal forces. What do? You have different forces now coming together to make the center stronger. Centrifugal forces is a situation where the center can no longer hold, as in Chinua Achebe's things fall apart. The reason why these centrifugal forces are increasing in strength and more devastating in effect is because there is no sense of belonging to a unified country called Nigeria. The struggle for power at the center is life and death. This is so because there's too much concentration of power at the center. Unfortunately, there has never been a single national leader since independence who has selflessly and patriotically worked for the people of Nigeria. I stand to be corrected. It was for this reason that the late sage, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, in the First Republic, wrote in one of his books and repeated it practically in other programs and lectures he delivered at that time, that Nigeria was a mere geographical expression. It will be safe to say that at independence, Nigeria had what would be called, what could be well described as quasi-federal structure. Revenue allocation at that time was 50% by derivation. This enables the major regions or geographical regions to exploit and explore their comparative advantages to the benefit of component parts of Nigeria, and by extension, the whole country. It was at this period between 1960 and 1966 that even the eastern Nigeria was recorded as the fastest growing third world economy. With the advent of the military and coupled with the oil boom that followed, Nigeria adopted a unitary government, which was first introduced by General J.T. Yuagi, short-lived regime, and that has consolidated and institutionalized even in our constitution by subsequent governments. This obnoxious structural reversal of Nigeria's quasi-federal structure immediately stifled the initiative of the states that were created by the military to develop their states based on the exploitation and exploration of comparative advantages. They became virtual beggars, going to the center for allocation to run their governments every month. Revenue allocation formula was reduced to 0 by derivation and later 3% under President Babangida. Under President Obasanjo, 13% of the Niger Delta areas were reluctantly accepted by other parts of Nigeria. Considering that derivation principle, that it was 50% at independence up to the commencement of the Civil War, the general discontent by those who have been shortchanged has contributed largely to the difficulties in building a nation out of the numerous nation states that make up Nigeria. The situation has so degenerated that given the option today in Nigeria, majority of the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria will opt for an exit from Nigeria. That is the truth. I don't have to garnish it. You can go and conduct your own census. The amalgamation of 1914 that ought to have resulted in one large happy nation is now seen by many as a contraption forced on the disparate nationalities by the colonial masters and handed over to a particular section for exploitation, manipulation, and oppression of others. Recorded comments of some First Republic politicians about the country as regards to what Nigeria represented to them and their people bear eloquent testimony to what I have said here. Deriving from this fact is that merit in public service is no longer given its pride of place. Mediocres were foisted on more qualified and experienced people in the public service in the name of satisfying quota system. Standard of admission for qualified candidates to tertiary institutions and technical colleges were lowered in favor of what was called educationally disadvantaged areas, resulting in more qualified persons roaming the streets without admission. My point on this is that we are not saying that people will not get into university from those areas disadvantaged, but we should not compromise our first 11 or our first 22 for those who could not make first 100. And that is why we have not developed today technologically. Some of these people with less qualification were rushed through these institutions with questionable certificates of graduation and promptly absorbed into the civil service. including health institutions, where such people have become more hazardous to public health institutions than the disease that they were expected to treat. At the state level, some governors have become very lazy, and I'm sure the governor of Anambra State is not one of them. I'm not saying so because I was part of him. Let me tell you something. The very first time Governor MIMIKO was brought to my office by Dr. Joseph Akilaja, who is now in the House of Representatives, I asked him, what vision do you have for the people? We discussed that. Then I visited him in his home. I've said this before, some years ago. Let me repeat it. He has one diary that was always with him. You'll be talking with him, after a few minutes, you see MIMIKO writing. So when he left, I was with Ada Kilaja or somebody else. He left. I opened that diary. I said, I can see, this is education. We turn. This is transportation. This is health. I said, this man is serious. There are governors who are elected into offices. They have no idea whatsoever what they are going there to do other than to share the state allocation. And that is why today, with the oil prices coming down, they cannot put things together to generate more funds. I will quickly give some solutions. I don't want to drag you because I think we are still going to discuss. Leaders must have the political will, and they must have that patriotic disposition to set aside ethnic, sectional, and religious sentiments, prejudices, and bigotry. The recommendations of 2014 National Conference should be implemented without hang-ups. Without hang-ups and ego of the people at the helm of affairs today. I was privileged to be in that conference. Yinka Odumaki was there. I've seen my elders behind the governor. Many of them were there. We agreed on over 600 decisions. Even though we quarreled inside, but those decisions were unanimously taken. The conference report is not on the agenda of this government because when we left the conference, there were some of us who called me and said, look, Dan, this conference will never see the light of day. We are going to fight it. Because they believe that they have an advantage and that they want it to come. Let me tell you, if we don't implement the decision of that conference, we'll just be going round and round. One step forward, 10 steps backward. There are things in the government that have been taken, including this issue of Northeast. It was Yinka, myself, Pastor Tunde Bakara, and a few others. We sat down and articulated massive reconstruction of the Northeast. It is not the making of this government. We did it. It's in the report. We did the paper, we pushed it through, it went through. But you have taken that one. You go, you take another one. And you don't want to look at the report in totality as it will benefit the people of Nigeria. It is not going to work. We must go back to that report. Do the necessary constitutional amendments, take the necessary decisions that are healthy for the people of Nigeria. It is tragic and indeed sad that today there are people who are ready and indeed, I'm concluding, sir. I've just done 10 minutes, I have 5 minutes, sir. It is tragic and indeed sad that today there are people who are ready and indeed dying for Boko Haram. There are those who are ready to die for a secessionist country called Biafra, and they are dying. There are those who are still ready to die over control of the resources of Niger Delta, and some of them are still dying for that cause. But it will be a tall order to identify a single Nigerian who can sincerely stick out his neck and willing to die for Nigeria. I don't want this issue, I will die for Nigeria. I'm ready to die for Nigeria. I want that Nigerian to sincerely come out and say, take me for Nigeria. It is not possible because those issues identified by Labramaku is here to be addressed. We must restructure this country. And in doing so, we have to look at the report of the 2014 National Conference. If we take that report and implement it, Nigeria will be an Eldorado, not only for us, but for our children and children's children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dan. May I, at this point, go to Mr. Odumake.
Mr. Chairman, sir, Your Excellency, Mr. Governor, and his lovely wife, permit me to stand on the existing protocol because of time. And first of all, let me congratulate Mr. Governor. In the last 7 years of your reign in Ondo State, if you place that by 7 years in other states, like Labramaku said, I don't think, or sit down, I don't think sincerely anybody has done better than you. And I'm not the only one saying it. The United Nations said it when they invited you to showcase Abiy as a model for the world. The UN Habitat said it. The West African College of Mercy said it. And I think you have left giant footprints here, which I think should be built upon. Now, before I move into the main topic, Mr. Chairman was talking that time about the question of devaluation of the Naira. Let me talk briefly on that. Because I've read all the arguments, and I think we should not lose sight of what people are saying, that in this age and time, in 1980, 1970, we can be talking about a president fixing the value of the Naira. We are not in that world anymore. In fact, what we are doing presently now is we are fighting corruption on one hand, while we are promoting corruption on the other hand. If today Dangote walks into CBN and the CBN gives him $1 billion, go and use it to trade, it doesn't make sense for you to go and do any business. At the gate of CBN, it can make over 200 billion profit. That is what we are doing when we keep it at 199 and it's going for 400 naira in the black market. It's like Governor MIMIKO saying that from tomorrow in our Korean markets, a basket of tomato must go for 10 naira. And he has no farm where he's planting tomatoes. So when people get to the markets, those who have tomatoes say, I want to sell for 100 naira. Would people listen to Governor MIMIKO or would listen to those who want to sell? That's what we're talking about. So we should allow the naira to find its level. What we are doing presently is hurting the economy. And I listened to what the president said in Egypt, that we will not allow naira to be devalued. Those who have foreign tastes should go and look for where they want to fund it. And I said this is unfortunate. Because today, the plane that took the plane to Egypt was not made in Nigeria. The parts of those planes were not making it in Nigeria. Everything I paid money for in national this year, there is nothing I go to buy from Nigeria. The vehicles they are riding in the villa, they are made abroad. The fuel for those cars, we are importing them. So the only difference between us, who are not in government, who want foreign things, and the president is him. So at this point in time, Naira must be allowed to find its level, and we should stop this corruption of thinking that we can peg Naira to 189 while it is on the free fall. We are only encouraging corruption. Now, my brother Soni, we've been on this for some time about this issue of herdsmen, Fulani herdsmen or not. I believe that there's only one in saying Fulani herdsmen.
Just like that's what we say Yoruba farmers. Most of those who are rearing cattle on a nomadic basis are Fulanis. I say what we should address is the issue of criminality that is attending cattle herding. Because as a young boy, I remember we used to see Fulani herdsmen going about. We run after them, we taunt them. In fact, we used to sing for them those days. We say, Oko Sikra, Iyawo Salubata, Oko Yokokon, and they were chasing us around. They were not carrying guns. They are not carrying AK-47. They are not kidnapping. So what we are addressing today is the criminality that is attending nomadic cattle herding. And when we of us are saying that, look, what we should do, that this whole idea of grazing about, we should stop it. Let's do things in a modern way. Argentina today is the largest exporter of computer in the world. Their farmers don't come here to come and rear cattle. So we must have designated places where people can raise their cattle without destroying that farm. In fact, we are talking of diversification now. We are saying that people should go to agriculture. What's the incentive in going to agriculture and people bring their cattle to eat up all your crops? That's what we are addressing, and that's what we are talking about. It's not as if we are criminalizing Fulani men or that all Fulanis are criminals. No, we are talking of the criminality that's attending cattle rearing in modern times. Now, to the question of centrifugal forces containing them in Nigeria. First point I want to make. We have centrifugal forces in Nigeria today, and we continue to have them because we have not made a nation out of Nigeria. Chino Achebe said they are a woeful country. Yes, there was a country, but there was never a nation. Nigeria was put together by Lord Lugard, who said he was looking for a northern husband for the southern lady of means. Now that means which oil has entered today, up to now, is becoming useless. The time has come for us to address the fundamental basis of our union as a people. And I think there is no need much inventing the wheel. Like Daniel who said, the 2014 National Conference addressed most of these basic and fundamental issues, and the report is there. Now, I think where we miss it was that during the last elections, this nation was polled in a matter of Jonathan is our problem, Buhari is our solution. So what said Jonathan is not our problem, Buhari is not the solution. There are fundamental issues that must be addressed, either Buhari or Jonathan. And if you don't address them, we go nowhere. 8 months after, that's where we are. Because today, every indices, they are worse today than they were in May 29, 2015. That's the truth of the matter. And 8 days after our election, Mark Sterling was writing in New York Times, and he made a point that at this point in the history of Nigeria, the last concluding part of that article was that Nigeria needs a reconstructive surgeon, not a bulldozer. Because when you look at the map of the election, if you are a student of nationhood, if you study the map of that elections, you can see a very badly divided nation, country, not a nation, country. And we're still badly divided. And what we needed at that point was to begin to pull together, to bring the centrifugal forces to the table. But we have conducted our affairs in a way that the country is further pulling apart. That today, we are much more divided than we were on March 28, 2015. Masop is there, Men is there, of the Boko Haram is doing his own. Of late, we have the Shiites. In a very unconscionable manner, in one day, we kill hundreds of Shiites. I don't believe in what they are doing, but we cannot do that and we think we don't have the repercussions. We are opening new frontiers. Yesterday night, I was coming here. My security was doing the car. His mother was calling for Agatuland. That we are running to the bush now, we are being attacked, we are being killed just yesterday. So we cannot pretend that those issues are not there. Or to just wish, oh, Nigeria has come to be. In fact, in 1992, there was an American journalist called Brian Hall who went to Yugoslavia and went on the tour of Yugoslavia. And he wrote a book which he titled The Impossible Country, A Journey Through the Last Days of Yugoslavia. The way we are today, if care is not taken and we don't do the needful, somebody may as well have been writing that about Nigeria. So, containing Nigeria's centrifugal forces require us realizing the needful and the urgent business of now. I'm sorry to say, the business of now is not about fighting corruption. We must fight corruption, don't get me wrong. And in any case, if you look at the history of Nigeria, there is no administration that has not fought corruption in its own way. In fact, those who staged the first coup in Nigeria, it was corruption they came to fight. Sani Abacha, as we are talking now, we are still tracing Abacha loot. Sani Abacha fought corruption at the stage. It was fair ban tribunal, sending people to jail and the rest of them. Obasanjo today, who to me is the poster boy of corruption in Nigeria, he set up EFCC and ICPC. So, and given what we are doing, we are taking some thieves who are stealing money. We put some people in chains. They said it's I think about 400 million naira, we put him in chains. And everybody's clapping, I've caught a thief. But somebody has been accused of stealing 45 billion naira. He's a minister. And we say you're fighting corruption. What corruption are you fighting? So I believe that what is happening at the moment is that corruption is fighting us. And we say we are fighting corruption. But the greatest corruption that we need to fight right now is the corruption in the constitution that says we the people of Nigeria, when we have no input to that constitution. And that constitution is everything we are fighting. Corruption we are talking about is a byproduct of the way we are constituted. If you kill almost 60% of the national resources in Abuja, why would there be no corruption? So we must address the basis of our union, and that we have addressed, to my mind, sufficiently at 2014 National Conference. The report is there. And to me, at this point, there are two options before Nigeria. It's a very hard thing to say, but it's the cold reality. Nigeria should either devolve or it will dissolve. The centrifugal forces, they are gathering steam. Today in Nigeria, I guess there are more arms in the hands of non-state actors than the state itself has. Of recent, the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, told us that the former president of Nigeria bought fake arms to fight Boko Haram. Until the army said no, we are not fighting with fake weapons. But even at that time, it was that the monopoly of weapons in this country was the hand of military, police, and the rest of them. Today, that soldiers are running from criminals with arms showed us the potency of these centrifugal forces, and will not contain them by the force of arms or by pretending that these issues are there. It is by addressing these issues and ensuring that we restructure Nigeria and make it a truly federal republic of Nigeria. That's the only way to contain the centrifugal forces in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we come to the climax of the discussants, who happens to be the only lady here. And I think it is very fitting that I should now call on the Cato. Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Governor, I want to thank you for using me to kill two birds with one stone. So I'm like the only youth here. I don't know if some of you still. Oh, Mr. Wanyamu, you're a youth. Okay. And I'm also representing the female population. If he did not do this, I would have been one of the voices ranting. So we want to thank him. All protocols duly observed. Good afternoon, Mr. Governor and Mr. Chairman. and every other person. Sorry, I come from that generation that we don't remember these names. What I want to theme my discussion on today is the devaluation of the Nigerian life. When we talk of centrifugal forces pulling Nigeria apart, the biggest collateral damage for Nigeria, the easiest thing to fall for Nigeria is you and I. And it doesn't matter how big you are, how highly placed you are, how low you are. I will start my explanation with an example. I've been working in the North Central. I would like to correct you people too. The crisis we manage is not in the Northeast. As have been discussed by our previous discussants, the North Central is an area that has faced more murder, more death than you can ever imagine. I come from that region. Southern Kaduna, Plateau State, Nasarawa, where Mr. Marco comes from, Benue, Taraba. I often tell people that we die for a living every day. As we speak right now, a woman in Plateau is probably getting raped and killed. As we speak right now in Plateau State, farms are being destroyed. As we speak right now in Southern Kaduna, there are over 16 villages where my people do not exist anymore. They have been moved. They do not exist there. Nigeria does not acknowledge this. In places like Nasarawa, where Thief people used to occupy at least 6 local governments, they have been shifted to only 2. Now that shifting is not that they were moved there. No, the people in the other 4 do not exist anymore. That is the Nigeria you live in, and I can bet that at least 80% of the people in this room right now do not know. Before I go further too, I want to address an issue that has made me very bitter. Good afternoon to every representative of the Nigerian Army here today. I come from Kaduna State. Right now, Kaduna State is a poster child for the abuse of human rights. December 12th, over 1,000 Nigerians were killed, including women and children. Now, while we want to call them terrorists and people with abstract religious beliefs, there is one person in that gathering that I would like to speak for. His name was Bukari Jega. He worked with the United Nations, and he was also a member of civil society. Bukari Jega was killed. His wife was killed, and his daughter was killed. She was not up to 2 years old. Now, moving on. Part of the work I have done in Plateau State, my life has come under its own share of danger. In 2012, we're taking relief items to a place called Barkin Ladi in Plateau State. And the night before, because I schooled in Unijos, and anybody that's been to Jos knows the relaxed atmosphere there. So years after my university, I said, let me go to my favorite fish joint and enjoy some fish before going to Barkin Ladi the next day. And members of the Nigerian Army were at that spot. We were seated outside. They were inside. A spot called Stefan's. And Ogas were drinking. Their boys were outside guarding Oga. And a fight broke out. Believe you me, we were seated outside. I was sitting with the Nigerian judge, and I told him, Oga, these people will come and kill us here. Oh. You know lawyers and these judges and their own idea of... He said, no, we are on our rights. I said, I don't know rights here. Oh. They will come and kill us. So when we were sitting there, the fight started. They said, block. I said, okay, let's go. They said, no. So I went and checked. Let me see where I can escape quickly if anything breaks out. And I found one small place I thought was an outlet. So when they started shooting in the air, of course the fight got escalated and they started shooting in the air. I ran towards that place that would lead me into the neighborhood and they won't find me. It was a dead end. I was inside there. Apparently every other person thought that that was the place they could use to escape. So we're all there. And these soldiers came and started threatening that if we don't come out, they will shoot us there. And we came out, I mean, after the first or second threat, you know that anything can happen. And then we came out. I'm asthmatic. I was dragged on the floor. They used MTN underground cable. Inside MTN underground cable, there's a red and yellow small one. Then there's the black one that covers it. That's what they used on my back. I've never seen that kind of thing before. We continue with the work we do irrespective, but you just know that if anything happens to you, that is it. And as a point of reference, the next day when we went to Barkin Ladi, these are villages that are isolated. They are cut off from the rest of Plateau State, and they are just waiting. Anytime attackers come, they will come and fetch them and go. And when we went in there, we did not see a single Nigerian soldier. But that is an issue for another day. Let me not attack. We're also grateful for the work you people have been doing, so let me stop there. Now, with respect to the Nigerian life, what is the value of the Nigerian life? See how difficult it is for us to devalue the naira currency. Let us bring it down. No, we don't want it, we don't want it. If the naira is at 400 unofficially to the dollar, the Nigerian life right now, it should be at 1 million to we don't matter. In that same village, we had a senator killed. We will get over it. Prior to the Chibok girls, over 50 boys, they were slaughtered. And I want to give you visuals of how that slaughter happened. All of us are in this hall. They will bring one person. They will slaughter the person. You know that you are the next to be slaughtered. There's nothing you can do about it. When we talk of Boko Haram and we say soft targets, the Paris attack, I believe it was in a bar. And the way that country stood up, the kind of grief they showed, the way the world backed them with solidarity, it was in a bar. In Nigeria, a bar is a soft target. Now let me shift back to the North Central. With the way we do not value us as a people, we do not even realize that the region where I come from is the region that feeds Nigeria. Not to put every other person's effort in farming to waste. But when you talk of Benue, Southern Kaduna, most of the grains, most of yams, a lot of things come from that region. And we are talking of buying Nigerian, we are talking of reducing importation, we are talking of all these things. And the region that feeds this nation is being wiped out. And we do not see it. I'll move to the Niger Delta question. It's a very tricky question that nobody wants to address. When the Ijaw man says our oye, we ask him how. While we are here talking about how the oil should rise and come down, the Ijaw man, the Ogonis, the people of the Niger Delta, they are dying of cancer. The average life expectancy there is way lower than you would ever imagine. Mr. Ben Bruce and his people are more susceptible to eye problem. There are places where you come from where they do not even know night because of gas flaring. Nigeria ignores all these things. Why? His people are collateral damage. What we have turned Nigeria to is a business entity. And for everybody inside here, we are all collateral damage to that business entity. And then we talk about corruption. It's a very sweet topic. Before I left my social media handle, I went on a wide rant. There was this handle that was with the same theme, corruption, corruption, corruption. In Nigeria, when you are part of a system where you are not valued, where you know that any day you can drop and it does not matter, where you know that your life, who you are, is nothing, what you are looking forward to is to be part of that percentage that is no longer, that in your mind you feel you are no longer collateral damage. So when I get there, what do I want to do? I want to grab and I want to run. You cannot ask Nigerians about patriotism. I know it's ideal to quote the Americans and say, consider not what America can do for you, consider what you can do for America. There have been sacrifices to keep the life of the average American. The life of the Nigerian means nothing. So when the Nigerian gets in there, his own thought is to save himself. What are we going to do to change this? I don't want to sound patronizing. I remember coming to see Mr. MIMIKO's work here. It's a bit stressful going around the work Mr. MIMIKO has done. After the umpteenth project, I'm always tired. Like, okay, we get it. You're a performing man. Can we go now? But one thing I've noticed is that what his project, the central theme of his project is care. The central theme of everything MIMIKO does is here. So you have the average ONDO child, of which I'm told that ONDO people are one of the most stubborn people in the country. Not stubborn in a rude way, but they are very difficult to please. But it's also encouraging to see that the average child in ONDO, that typically should not matter, like I do not matter in the scheme of things, has been made to feel like that child matters. My school that these children have, the transportation, these are the little things that matter. No matter, I don't know how to quantify this for you to understand that for a child to go to a school that he only... In fact, after driving out of one of the public schools, we went to a private school. I was like, well, it is a private school and that's a public school. I don't know how this works. ONDO State is kind of like an anti-representation of everything that stands in Nigeria. Issues in my years growing up, and I cannot help but be grateful for these women that we see here. You know, the state-of-the-art facilities for them, it's encouraging. Again, this is not a goodwill message thing for MIMIKO, but it's just a lesson for the rest of Nigeria to learn. That the only way Nigeria can be held together is if the life of the average Nigerian is valued. We are all the average Nigerian. Because in all things being equal, if you think you're a big man today, if Mr. MIMIKO dies today by some strange thing, something hits him, someone shoots him, 2 days later, Nigerians have moved on. That is the governor. If we cannot bring ourselves back to that respect for human life, if we cannot bring ourselves back to the place where the issues about Nigeria, the Nigerian conversation is centered around the Nigerian, not oil. I am of the generation that we pray for this oil to crash. While people are going and holding meetings, hoping that the oil will stabilize, no. We need new ideas. We are tired. We pray for this oil to crash so that the conversation of federalism, something as simple as federalism, is a concept that Nigeria is not grasping. It is amazing. We pray for this oil to crash, that the people in the Niger Delta will finally have peace. We pray for this oil to crash, that when we are talking of Nigeria, when we are talking of my region, we're not held together because we're a business entity. We are held together based on mutual respect. Respect for people that we call minorities. Respect for people that we call majorities. Respect for everyone. If we are not held together by this mutual respect, which is also centered on the respect for human life, for human rights, we are wasting our time. There's nothing greater tearing this country apart than the fact that the human life, the Nigerian, is not valued. If the Nigerian is not valued, then what is Nigeria? What is Nigeria? If the person inside, the people that constitute Nigeria, do not matter, what is Nigeria? A geographical entity with money to be shared? I do hope that as we ponder on these things, is my time up? Okay. I do hope that as we ponder on these things, I also still want to use this opportunity to thank Mr. Governor, because my generation is struggling to be part of this conversation. I clocked 26 years old in October last year, and it is, when I heard Mr. Yako say his wife 51 years ago, that's embarrassingly double my age. So I'm here like, okay, rub it in. But I'm grateful to be part of this conversation, and I want people to know that we are here. Whether you let us in or not, we're not begging to be let into the conversation. We're breaking down these doors, and we are going into the conversation. And where you stop is where we are going to carry on. So I ask you people that you be very careful with our property, because what you are doing is you're watching over it for us. We are here, we're entering the conversation. Some of the things we are seeing we do not like, and you're making the future work a little more difficult for us. But for the likes of Mr. MIMIKO, that is making the job a little, or much easier for us, I'll say. A very strict man, with his intense stare, always serious. Doesn't this man laugh? How do people cope? Let me report your voice to you. Yesterday, like, madam, this is how we work every day, 2 a.m. Like, okay, this is great. It's great to see that there are people like this and people to look up to. He's a man I look up to, and from the first conversation we had, I told him that I'm an Iroquoist, even though I'm from another region. But just to round up, to let you people know that we are here, and we are the change. Whether you like it or not, we're part of that conversation. Respect our presence. Allow us in. You're not doing us a favor. Thank you very much.
3 words to explain the past couple of hours. Seminal and far-reaching. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not really sure that the positions that have been espoused here by all these personalities, all 7 of them, can be compressed by any one person in any reasonable time. But I'm sure Mr. Chairman would have a word or two, and probably as well, yes, allow maybe a handful of people to ask questions and opinionate about the things that we've heard here.
I'm sorry, MC, to have to cut you short. We go on to hear His Excellency the Governor. So if you,
Well, you've heard Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together as we welcome to the podium His Excellency Governor of ONDO State, Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO.
Thank you. Ìlú fẹ́ mi lóye, Olúṣẹ́gun. Ìlú fẹ́ mi lóye, ọmọ mi ni kò máa bá jọ̀rọ̀ lọ o, Olúṣẹ́gun. Ìlú fẹ́ mi lóye, ọmọ ìyá àrùkà.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the Governor has persuaded me to allow 2 or 3 questions because some people have come from a long way to put some questions. So may I then invite those who've come from a long way to put some questions, and I recognize the gentleman, yes. So do give him the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Excellency, Mr. Governor, Royal Fathers, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tony Uranta. I'm the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian National Summit Group, the group that moved for the national conference. Having heard all you have said, I am happy that my brother Yinka Odumaki crystallized it all. So far as we are concerned, citizens of Nigeria, the major centrifugal force militating against Nigeria's unity, peace, or progress is the fact that we are no longer a federal state. Until and unless Nigeria returns to full and true federalism, there shall very soon be no Nigeria. We may think it's a doomsday prediction. It's not. It's just analysis and acceptance of facts. I know when Shehu Sani was trying to bring about the resolution of the Boko Haram crisis. At that time, I first was one of those that said, no, the government must not dialogue with Boko Haram. But eventually I said, yes, the government should dialogue with them. Why? Because so far as I was concerned, it was just one group in Nigeria aspiring to a certain form of identity within this nation. I don't know if they're the same group anymore. I don't think they are. I believe that now ISIS have taken over. I see the people of IPOB, Biafra, striving to do what? Not to take up arms. I don't think any pro-Biafran truly wants to leave Nigeria. All they want is to be respected in Nigeria. I hear about corruption and the fight against corruption, and I'm totally all for it. I support the president, but of course I support him with reservations. You cannot say there will be no corruption when even now you have not put into place laws that will make sure that your own NSA has no access to excessive funds without legislative oversight. But all these things are happening because we have a badly structured nation. And as Yinka rightly said, it's a pity that we have to come here to discuss this all over again. It was fully and fully trashed in the system that my chairman here, Senator Femi Okorumu, led to design at the National Conference held. And all those decisions were consensually. That means everybody agreed. If everybody agreed, why is anybody dragging their feet about implementing what was agreed by this nation, for this nation? Why are we being such fools? Why are we being self-destructive? Because, as I have said, I can bet you that this year may not see a Nigeria united if there is no sensible restructuring towards a federal system based on justice, equity, and rule of law. For example, don't try people on the pages of newspapers, take them to court.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Dr. Yunus Etanko. I'm the National Chairman of the National Conscience Party, as well as the former Chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, and the former member of the National Peace Committee in which you chaired for the Abuja Accord that produced this particular lasting, very peaceful democracy that we are enjoying today. Your Excellency, the Governor of ONDO State, and his amiable wife, a.k.a. Iyabiye. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to congratulate the Governor, not because of the monumental achievement that he has made for the people of ONDO State, but for the single reason that he has given us opportunity for most of us here today to ventilate our own positions without anybody gagging us. We are saying our mind. And if he doesn't have the interest of Nigeria in the first place, he wouldn't have brought all of these particular individuals to express this particular situation that we are already espousing this afternoon. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us not deceive ourselves. The question I want to pose to the discussants are this: when do we as Nigerians run away from hypocrisy? When do we as Nigerians run away from sentiments? When do we as Nigerians run away from ethnic divisions? I watched on the BBC program Monday where former governor of Rivers State was actually contesting for the presidency of this country. And the BBC report was actually positioning a kind of a gas flaring of Nigerians residents in the Niger Delta, where most of the money that is being made in this country is being brought from that area, gas flaring, and the people are still living on the thatch roof on top of water. And then the governor's house was made in marbles with a lot of gold ink, and then there was a division. He was just putting the two things together, and then you're saying, and this is the person who wants to rule Nigeria. Have you ruled his own people? These are questions. When you go up north, down from Kano State, the large number of people that you call Almajiris, who are potential Boko Harams or any other thing that you know, how many people have really cared for them, or the governors of those particular states have cared for them to really rehabilitate these particular people? None. When you come to the southwest, the boys that you see on the streets as agberos and all of that you load and probably use as other kind of forces for political aggrandizement. What have we done about them? These are fundamental questions. The day you refuse an accountant who you pay salary of 100 naira, he has mouth to feed. He has his family to take care of. He has hospital bills to take care of. Then you mantle him with the leadership of controlling 1 billion naira, and yet you expect that particular person not to be corrupt. That is when you start thinking about Nigeria as a person. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please and please, whether you like it or not, Nigeria is ours to build. All of these countries that have been colonized by their own colonial master. But what they think about is that they think about themselves as a country. I'm an advocate of Nigeria. I believe strongly in Nigeria. We should start thinking and talking as Nigeria. When you care as a person, as a president, you go and stay in Enugu or Owerri. When you look at the road, the other area road that has been forgotten completely, you put it back in shape. You go up north, you look at those particular people and take care of them. Southwest, then when you are doing something, you are doing it dispassionately, and every Nigerian will queue with you. And that is the same thing that has been done here in Ondo State, where the governor does not care from where you come from. Your car, your children are being moved by a vehicle from one point to another to the schools. The child and care hospital is for everybody in Ondo State. Then that is when you care for Nigeria. I want to congratulate all of us, and I think we can move forward with that thinking. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, so much has been said here this afternoon, but I still have to add a few things. Being hypocritical, we are yet to build a nation, and we have not yet have a sincere leader, in my own humble opinion, who in fact wants to build a nation. Our problem in Nigeria, like Achebe said, is simply as squarely a problem of leadership. Before I go into the subject, I must pay special compliments to Ondo State, Governor MIMIKO and his team. I'm proud. Anytime I come to Ondo State, I feel elated because I see government working for the people. Yes, this gives some hope that at least something is happening in Nigeria. But Ondo State is just a fraction of this country. Mr. Chairman, I may bold to say here, there is no part of this country that is happy with Nigeria as it is today. No section of this country. Not even in Daura. A few weeks ago, I think somebody representing ISIS or Al-Qaeda was arrested in Daura. A native of Daura, that's where the president comes from. The Yorubas are not happy too. We are not, because we believe that this structure that we have, this behemoth, is dragging us down. I think I want to salute one of the speakers made reference to Southwest. I think it was Bemiro Bruce or somebody, about Chief Awolowo's educational programs and so on. The type of structure we run in this country is promoting centrifugal forces. Unless we are prepared to go back to the basics, we must recognize that we are not the same. This country is made out of various nationalities. That is the truth of the matter. And we are having serious problems in the North Central because there are many tribes in the North Central. In fact, within spaces of 20 kilometers, you can hear two languages that are not the same. We must appreciate the historical and cultural differences of this country, and we must sit down to restructure the country and quickly devolve powers to the federating units. There is no state in Nigeria that does not have more than 1.52 million population, or 1.5. And there are countries in the world with 500,000, 600,000 people. It is difficult for us to go back to what we were before. But if we devolve powers to the various states that we have today, I bet there are enormous treasures, minerals, and opportunities to motivate the people to support their government and ensure that we have healthy competition. So, ladies and gentlemen, I support those who have said that we cannot run away from the resolutions of the 2014 National Conference if we want this country to move forward. There is no amount of theorizing that we continue to do. We will be making motions without movement. So we must go back to the 2014 resolutions of the National Conference. We must recognize our diversity, and we must restructure the country and devolve powers. That is what can keep these centrifugal forces at bay. Thank you very much.
Well, is it time for me now to invite His Excellency to come and speak?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, as His Excellency is walking up to the podium, did I hear anybody say, Mr. Chairman? Good. Well, Your Excellency.
Thank you, sir. At this juncture, we must not overstretch our luck. Mr. Chairman and the distinguished discussants, let me also quickly recognize my darling wife, the first citizen of ONDO, First Lady. Let me recognize Mr. Deputy Governor and his darling wife. And permit me also, Mr. Chairman, to especially recognize Mr. Speaker of the ONDO State House of Assembly. I recognize every member of the State Executive Council, all top government functionaries, leaders of our people in ONDO State. Permit me also, with gratitude and thanks, to recognize our royal fathers. Thank you so much, sirs. We are blessed by your presence, and thank you for providing leadership and for keeping our communities safe. Thank you so much, sirs. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there are so many of you distinguished Nigerians here. I recognize you and I thank you. Mr. Chairman, this is actually not the formal vote of thanks, but it will be inappropriate if I don't thank you. One, for accepting to come to ONDO State after 51 years. And for coming on time yesterday. Mr. Chairman has been in town since 2 p.m. yesterday. I thank you, sir. I thank you also for going round all the way to the medical village. And I think it was the Chief of Staff. I want him not to overstretch you. But thank you for the very kind and generous words that you have also said about our modest efforts. I want to say, I'm sure she may not like this, when you made your remarks, my wife says, excellence needs no advertisement. That excellence is excellence any day. We are proud of you, sir. And we are proud of what you represent in your generation. And moving forward, what we can learn from you in bringing about Nigeria of our collective dream. Having said all of that, let me also thank every participant, every discussant here today. We were very careful in putting this team together. Let me, Comrade Sheikh Sani, the senator, when we were, even as students, and even following your career as an activist, one thing that stands out, and I'm saying this, I'm not taking anything away from any part of this country. It was not common then for a thoroughbred Fulani who was also an activist. If you know what I'm talking about. We grew up to think that that was a contradiction in terms, a paradox of sorts. And you have navigated the terrain. And even your activity, although some of us believe that APC is the conservative wing of Nigerian political divide. But even as an APC change, you have maintained that progressive credentials, and you have even confronted somebody of your own party who probably was not keeping faith with the fundamental tenets of respect for Nigerians, for cardinal people. We must just thank you. And that left me a bit worried. I don't know whether to worry is the word. I just had an impression that you were probably understating the menace of these nomadic herdsmen. And I pray, I hope you will not. Because I remember you were one of those that stood up to try and quench the Boko Haram fire when it was coming up. I want you, sir, and you represent a very unique and peculiar position. The nomadic herdsmen menace is a big one. As a governor, a few years back, say 3 years ago, hardly did I have any complaint. On daily basis, our KBACs from the northern fringe of this state, they will tell you harrowing story experience on daily basis. Last Sunday, as I was coming out of church, they brought me pictures of farmers that had their arms cut, their head macheted. I had to call specialists to attend to them right in the church. The young ones were mobilizing to attack. We had to do a lot of preventive measures to, even as at last Sunday. On daily basis, our kings, our KBACs from the northern fringe would tell all the encounter they have with these nomadic herdsmen. Even in ONDO state, it was never an issue here. And I think we should never understate. And when I say that, I'm not discounting the fact that even in this part of this country, there are a lot of solid minerals. So it's not about oil alone. When we say restructure this country, it is not a ploy to give advantage to any part of the country. It is actually a design to ensure that the quantum leap that we need for development is guaranteed. If we want to go the way we are going in this country, this new speed, at times we need to torture statistics to convince ourselves that we are progressing. If that is what we want. But the only thing is that there's a price to pay. Those centrifugal forces are getting stronger by the day. And we hope that those centrifugal forces will not tear us apart until we wake up to the reality that until we restructure this country, we will not make that quantum leap into this 21st century. And I thank everybody that has contributed today. Every part of this country has what it takes to develop. In ONDO state, we have a lot. Every part of this country. And restructuring is about giving us that opportunity that we so desire. Somebody said something, and I will go home thinking about it. How many people really want to stand up to die for Nigeria? That is one question that we must take home. And at this juncture, I must also salute our men that are under arms and are fighting to keep this country together. We make the job easier for them if we restructure this country along these desired lines. Let me just say this again. We don't even have to, in one fell swoop, adopt every recommendation of the national compact. But it will be grand injustice to this country if we don't bring those recommendations to the forefront of our conversation as a nation moving forward. Once again, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Mr. Chairman. And I want to congratulate ONDO State, 40 years of nationhood. I especially thank General Opaleyes in the House, those who have been part of this, who have the privilege. I'm also happy that Good Captain Ita David Ekpeme, who was the first administration when those state was created, is good and alive, 83 or 84 years old. I'm sure he will join us at the dinner on Saturday. We have all contributed in no small measure to make Ondo State what it is today. So I thank you and everybody that has contributed. We thank the private sector for wonderful things. I can see the Vice Chancellor of Elizade University. Kivade Uju is our quintessential entrepreneur in this state for all the investment in our state. I want just to thank all of you. But most importantly, I also thank everybody that has been part of our success story, especially those who have been sitting in the last 7 years with me in the State Executive Council. We've had arguments, robust, we've played around with ideas, but at the end of the day, they have always allowed me to lead them. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank our royal fathers. It's been wonderful working with you in the last 7 years. I want to thank every Ondo State citizen. They've supported us in prayers. I promised when I came on board 7 years ago that in every season that I will always take the greatest interest of the greatest number into consideration in every decision we take, and that I will always work for you. I think we've been working for you. We will continue to work with you. Let me thank Mr. Speaker. It wouldn't have been possible if we didn't get this incredible cooperation and synergy between the executive and legislative arm of government in Ondo State. And I want to thank the judiciary for playing their role appropriately. I thank many others in the House, Dr. Akingba, Senator Kuomu, all of you. You've been part of our story, and each time we call you, you always find time to honor us. The good Lord will continue to honor you. Most importantly, I also thank Mr. Deputy Governor for cooperating for the synergy and your beautiful wife. I want to thank the chairman of my party so that I could get deregistered after this. I thank you so much. Yeah, we have challenges in our party, but we are overcoming our challenges. I want to thank everybody that has been here, members of the press, all of you. And most importantly, I want to thank my darling wife for standing by me in the last 7 years. Thank you, sir, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Governor, sir, before you take your seat, we will take a photograph with the chairman and discussant. And this particular segment will be in 2 batches. After the first batch, Her Excellency, the wife of the governor, Deputy Governor and his wife, the Right Honorable Speaker, and Honorable Justice Aguda Taiwo will join them to represent the judiciary for the second batch of the group photograph. Your Excellencies, please come forward for the photograph. The Right Honorable Speaker. People. Please, the program is not over yet.
Gentlemen and ladies, although we have successfully reached the apex, the climax of the event, but it is not quite over, and therefore I would plead that we please take our seats until it's completely over. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, the Deputy Speaker. Okay, thank you very much. The cultural troop, please. It will not be good enough for our distinguished chairman and the discussant to come to Ondo State without feeling or experiencing part of the rich culture and heritage of Ondo State, sir. For 2 minutes. Cultural troop, for 2 minutes, please. Thank you. Cultural troop, 2 to 3 minutes. Please try and spice up this event. Thank you, please. Please have your seat. The program is not over. Please have your seat. In the next 5 minutes, the program will be over, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together for the cultural group. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Now I'm going to invite here the Vice Chairman of the Organizing Committee, in person of the Honorable Commissioner for Information, Mr. Kayode Akimade. But first, I need to inform you that we're streaming online at the moment, and the conversation, even after this event is over, will continue online, and you can visit our website at www.facebook.com/ONDO TV. And if you'd like to join the conversation on Twitter, you can use the hashtag ONDO40by7. ONDO40by7 on Twitter. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun MIMIKO and his amiable wife, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Ondo State and his amiable wife, the amiable Speaker of the State House of Assembly, the representative of the Chief Judge, all other protocols duly observed. First and foremost, we want to thank the Almighty God that made today a reality. And we also want to thank Him for making everything to work better and good for us in Ondo State. We want to specially thank the chairman of this occasion, our amiable diplomat, Chief Emeka Anyanku, for finding time to come to Ondo State despite his tax schedule. We also appreciate the love he also asked for the governor of Ondo State, because when we got in touch with him, and he said, wow, if it is for Governor MIMIKO, I will be here. And we thank you for honoring our governor. As we honor him, God will also honor you in the name of Jesus. I want to especially thank all our discussants today. It hasn't been easy for you to leave all what you are doing all over there in Abuja and Lagos to come to Ondo State. But we also appreciate the fact that your visit to Ondo State will also leave a lingering memory of what good governance can do in Nigeria. We want to thank you most sincerely, and I believe that all our people have benefited from your wealth of experience and from the knowledge that you share to us. We thank you greatly, and we pray that when you go back to your destination, you arrive there peacefully in Jesus' name. We also want to thank our KBACs who led their throne to be part of this wonderful event. We want to thank you most sincerely, and we pray that the peace that you people desire in your kingdom will be your portion in Jesus' name. We thank the State Executive Council for being part of this success story, for being there for Mr. Governor, and for being part of this event. We especially thank some of our leaders who have come from far and near, more especially our friendly leaders. We also want to thank friends of Mr. Governor, Mr. Tony Oreta, and many more that have found time to be here. We especially thank the service chief. They were first to be here, and they are still with us. We thank you for the support you have given to the government of Ondo State for being part of our success story. We especially thank the judiciary. We thank our chairman, the chairman of PDP, and also to thank the former governor of Ondo State. If you see him, he looks radiant as if he's still young. He was our governor about 2 decades ago, and he's still looking very, very young. We thank you and your maybe wife, and we pray that the success that you've recorded in Ondo that Governor MIMIKO has built upon will also be exposed to the whole world in the name of Jesus. We thank all our permanent secretaries, the chairmen of boards, SFA, FA, and more especially the gentlemen of the press. The chairman, publisher of Pilot newspaper is here, and I can see some editors of Tribune and some other newspaper.
being with us here. We thank you most sincerely. We want to appreciate your coming, and we pray that the good Lord will be with you as you go back to your various destinations.